Ambassador Daniel Brooks sat in the cold metal chair, staring across the table at 12 alien faces. Each one looked different, but they all shared the same expression. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were stupid. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The largest alien, Chancellor Vex Kalar from the Zephyrian Empire, leaned forward with his 4 arms spread wide on the table. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he spoke. Human Brooks, your people have exactly 72 hours to accept our terms. You will abandon your outer colonies. You will pay tribute to the Hegemony Coalition. You will accept your place as a minor species under our protection. Brooks kept his face calm, but inside his chest, his heart was beating fast. He had been a diplomat for 20 years. He had negotiated trade deals, peace treaties, and colony rights. But this was different. This was not negotiation. This was surrender or war. And if we refuse? Brooks asked quietly. The alien's mouth split into what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then your species will learn what happens to those who defy the natural order of the galaxy. We control 800 star systems. You control 47. The mathematics are simple, even for a primitive mind. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Falcon when the emergency signal came through. The communication was broken and full of static, but she could hear the fear in the voice of Colony Administrator Ben Harper on Kepler 4042b. Unknown ships in orbit. They're firing on the settlements. Civilians trapped in the underground shelters. Our defense platforms are gone. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help. Lisa grabbed the communications console. Ben, this is Captain Martinez. How many ships? At least 30, maybe more. They're huge, Lisa. Bigger than anything we've ever seen. They're not even trying to land troops. They're just killing everyone they can find. The signal cut to static. Lisa turned to her crew. Every face on the bridge was angry. These were not soldiers they were talking about. These were farmers, miners, families, children. Helm, set course for Kepler 442b, maximum speed, Lisa ordered. Captain, her first officer said quietly, we're just one ship. Our orders are to avoid engagement with superior forces. Lisa looked at him with cold eyes. Those are our people down there, Commander. We're going. On Earth, President Andrew Kane walked into the emergency session of the United Earth Council. The great chamber was filled with representatives from every human world. They all knew why they were here. The aliens had finally done what everyone feared they would do. Admiral Rachel Stone stood at the front of the room with a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked hegemony worlds. Blue dots marked human colonies. The difference was clear and frightening. The situation is simple, Admiral Stone began. The Hegemony Coalition has 800 worlds, 12 different species, and over 10,000 warships. We have 47 worlds, 1 species, and maybe 800 ships on a good day. In a straight fight, we lose. Badly. President Kane stood up slowly. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, but when he spoke, his voice was strong. Admiral, what you're telling us is that we can't win a traditional war. That's correct, sir. Then we won't fight a traditional war. Kane looked around the room at all the faces watching him. For 3 years, the hegemony has pushed us. They've taken our trade routes. They've claimed systems we discovered. They've treated us like children who don't know our place. And we've been patient. We've been diplomatic. We've tried to find peaceful solutions. Kane walked to the center of the room. But patience has limits, diplomacy has limits, and those limits were crossed the moment they started bombing civilians. The president's voice got louder. They think we're weak because we're young. They think we're stupid because we haven't conquered half the galaxy. They think we'll roll over and accept whatever scraps they throw us. Kane stopped walking and looked directly at Admiral Stone. They've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of when we stop being nice. 6 hours later, the footage arrived. Security cameras from Kepler 442b had kept recording even as the colony burned. The images showed hegemony soldiers in their environmental suits, walking through the ruins of human homes. They found a group of colonists hiding in a school basement. 15 people. Men, women, children. The aliens lined them up against a wall. The galaxy watched as Chancellor Vex Kalar himself appeared on the broadcast. This is what happens to species that forget their place. Humans are not equals. They are resources to be managed. Those who resist management will be removed. The executions were broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. President Kane watched the footage in his office. His hands shook as he reached for his pen. The document in front of him was simple. Executive Order 4471. Total War Authorization. No human military force had ever been fully mobilized. There had never been a need. That was about to change. Kane signed the order with steady strokes. Within minutes, emergency broadcasts went out to every human world, every ship, every military base. The message was short and clear. All military personnel report to stations immediately. All reserve forces are activated. All defense contracts are now Priority 1. All civilian shipyards are converted to military production. Effective immediately, the United Earth government declares a state of total war against the hegemony coalition. Kane set down his pen and looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. Somewhere up there among the stars were thousands of human families who needed protection. Children who deserved to grow up free. Colonists who had done nothing wrong except try to build new lives on distant worlds. The aliens thought they knew humans. They thought they understood what humanity was capable of. They had studied human history, seen the wars, the conflicts, the violence that humans inflicted on each other. But they had made one critical mistake. They thought that violence made humans weak. They were about to learn that it made humans very, very good at war. Admiral Stone received the authorization 30 minutes later. She looked at the document, then at her staff. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our orders. Signal all fleets. Recall every ship. Activate every reserve unit. Contact every ally. She paused, thinking about the children who had died on Kepler 442b. And send a message to Admiral Kevin Torres. Tell him to prep the Prometheus network. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can do when they stop playing defense. The war would begin in 18 hours. The aliens still thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming for them. Day 1 of the war began with what looked like humanity's complete surrender. Every human warship in the galaxy turned around and headed back toward Earth. Every military base went silent. Every diplomatic channel shut down. Across the galaxy, alien leaders celebrated what they thought was the fastest victory in galactic history. Chancellor Vex Kalar stood in his command chamber, watching the tactical displays show human ships retreating. Exactly as predicted, he told his staff. The humans realized they could not win and chose survival over honor. A wise decision for such a primitive species. But the Chancellor did not know about Commander Jake Sullivan. Jake sat in the pilot seat of the UES Shadow, the most advanced ship humans had ever built. It was small, painted black and covered with technology that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. For the past 2 years, Jake and his team had been flying secret missions deep into enemy space, mapping their defenses and studying their technology. Take us to the hegemony border, Jake told his pilot, Lieutenant Mary Adams. Time to see what they're really planning. The Shadow slipped through space like a ghost. Its engines were silent. Its hull absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them, and its shape was designed to look like space debris on any sensor that did pick it up. Jake had spent 18 months learning to fly ships like this. It was dangerous work, but someone had to do it. They crossed into hegemony space without being detected. Jake's crew began recording everything they saw. Fleet positions, communication frequencies, supply routes, defensive patterns. What they found surprised them. Look at this, said Communications Officer Pete Wilson, pointing at his screen. Their fleets are spread out across hundreds of systems. No coordination between species. The Zephyrians don't even talk to the Kalari unless they have to. Jake nodded. They're not used to fighting real wars. They've been bullying smaller species for so long, they forgot how to defend themselves against someone who fights back. 3 billion miles away, in the asteroid belt around Earth's sun, engineer Patricia Wells was finishing the most important project in human history. She floated in zero gravity inside a construction facility that officially did not exist. Around her, thousands of workers were putting the final touches on humanity's secret weapon. Prometheus Network. Final systems check, Patricia announced over the comm system. The Prometheus Network was beautiful and terrifying. Scattered throughout the asteroid belt were hundreds of platforms, each one holding a dozen tungsten rods the size of telephone poles. The rods were simple pieces of metal, but when fired at 30% of light speed, they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. Patricia had spent 8 years designing the system. 8 years of hiding construction inside normal mining operations. 8 years of making sure no alien spy could figure out what humans were really building out here. All platforms report ready, came the response from her team leaders. Quantum targeting systems online. Communication arrays linked. We can hit any target in the galaxy with less than 30 seconds notice. Patricia smiled grimly. The aliens thought humans were primitive because they didn't have massive fleets or planet-killing weapons. They didn't realize that humans had learned to fight smart instead of fighting big. On the surface of Kepler 442b, former construction worker Sam Hughes crouched in the ruins of what used to be the colony's main settlement. Around him, 300 survivors were hiding in underground tunnels they had been digging for months. The aliens thought they had broken the human spirit. They were wrong. Sam checked his watch. 18 hours until the signal came. 18 hours until they showed these invaders what happened when you hurt human families. Mary, how are the charges? Sam whispered into his radio. All set, came the reply from Mary Chen, a mining engineer who had become their explosives expert. The moment we get the word, every alien supply depot on this planet goes up in smoke. The resistance network on Kepler 442b was not alone. Across 47 human worlds, ordinary people had spent months preparing for this day. Teachers who had learned to make bombs, farmers who had become snipers, shopkeepers who had memorized alien patrol schedules. The hegemony occupying forces had no idea what was waiting for them. Back on Earth, Admiral Rachel Stone stood in the most secure command center humanity had ever built. Hidden deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, the facility could coordinate military operations across the entire galaxy in real time. Quantum communication arrays are online, reported Communications Director Helen Roberts. We can talk to any human ship or base instantly anywhere in the galaxy. This was humanity's greatest advantage. While alien fleets had to rely on faster-than-light radio that took hours or days to cross the galaxy, humans could coordinate their forces with perfect timing. Every ship, every base, every resistance cell could work together like parts of a giant machine. Admiral Stone looked at the displays showing human forces gathering in the solar system. It looked like a retreat, but it was actually the largest military buildup in human history. Ships that had been scattered across the galaxy were coming home to rearm and refuel. Reserve forces were being activated. Civilian shipyards were working around the clock to build more weapons. "Admiral," said her aide, Captain Ryan Kelly, "we're getting reports from our scout ships. The aliens are spreading their fleets thin to occupy our former territories. They're not expecting us to come back," Stone nodded. "Good. The more confident they get, the harder they'll fall." Meanwhile, in the hegemony capital system, Chancellor Vex Kalar was already planning how to divide up human space among his allies. The Kalari wanted the mining worlds. The Draconi claimed the agricultural planets. Everyone wanted a piece of what they thought would be easy territory to control. "The humans have retreated to their home system," reported his intelligence chief. "Our spies confirm they are in full panic. Their military is in disarray. Some of their colonies are already requesting terms for surrender." Vex Kalar's forearms spread wide in satisfaction. "Begin phase 2 of the occupation. I want garrison fleets in every former human system within the week. And increase the tribute demands. A broken species should pay for the privilege of continued existence." What the Chancellor did not know was that the panicked human transmissions his spies were intercepting were fake. The disorganized retreat was actually the most carefully planned military operation in human history. And the colonies requesting surrender terms were actually resistance cells confirming they were ready for war. Commander Jake Sullivan and his crew spent the day mapping the alien forces. What they found was even better than they had hoped. The hegemony fleets were not just spread out, they were completely unprepared for coordinated attacks. Their ships were designed for bombardment, not ship-to-ship combat. Their crews were used to bullying civilians, not fighting trained soldiers. "Send this data back to Earth immediately," Jake ordered. Command needs to see this. The data reached Admiral Stone within minutes. She studied the intelligence reports with growing excitement. The aliens had made every mistake possible. They had scattered their forces. They had underestimated their enemy. They had gotten overconfident. Signal all fleet commanders, Stone announced. Operation Thunderbolt begins in 6 hours. Every ship, every platform, every resistance cell hits their target simultaneously. Show them what humans can do when we stop being nice. As the day ended, humanity's trap was set. Across the galaxy, alien forces were spread thin and unprepared. Human ships were hidden and ready to strike. The Prometheus network was armed and targeted. Resistance cells were in position. Everything waited for Admiral Stone's signal. The aliens thought they had won the war in a single day. They were about to learn it had only just begun. Day 2 began at exactly 0600 Earth Standard Time when Admiral Rachel Stone pressed a single button. Across the galaxy in 47 different star systems, humanity's revenge began. The first targets never saw it coming. The Prometheus network fired tungsten rods at 30% light speed, hitting hegemony fleets that were still celebrating their easy victory. The aliens' massive ships, built for intimidation rather than defense, cracked open like eggs when the kinetic rounds hit them. Admiral Vex Kalar was reviewing occupation reports when his flagship shuddered. Alarm started screaming throughout the bridge. Report, he shouted at his crew. Sir, we're detecting massive kinetic impacts throughout the fleet. Ships are being destroyed, but we can't identify the source of the attacks. On the main screen, Vex Kalar watched 3 of his largest battleships simply come apart. Metal twisted and atmosphere vented into space. Emergency pods launched from dying ships. In 30 seconds, half his fleet was gone. How is this possible? Vex Kalar demanded. There are no human ships in this system. His tactical officer's voice shook with fear. Sir, the projectiles came from outside the system. Long-range kinetic bombardment. We never saw the launch signatures. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out in dozens of systems. Alien fleets that had felt safe in human territory suddenly found themselves under attack by weapons they didn't understand, fired from positions they couldn't locate. Captain Steve Morrison smiled grimly as he watched the tactical display aboard the UES Vengeance. The first wave of kinetic strikes had worked perfectly. Now it was time for Phase 2. All ships, this is Morrison. Execute hyperspace jump. Target coordinates confirmed. Remember, speed and surprise are everything. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace inside the gravity shadow of a gas giant, hidden from alien sensors. Morrison had spent 2 years studying hegemony tactics. He knew their weaknesses. Their ships were slow and heavy. Their formations were designed for show, not combat. Their crews had never fought anyone who shot back. Targeting solutions locked, reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Jennifer Walsh. All ships report ready. Morrison's fleet was small compared to the alien forces, but every human ship was built for war. Fast engines, heavy armor, accurate weapons. More importantly, every human crew had trained for this moment for years. Fire. The human ships opened up with everything they had. Railguns, missile salvos, energy beams. The alien ships, caught completely off guard, tried to turn their massive hulls to return fire. But the human ships were already moving, dancing around the slow alien vessels like fighters around giants. Admiral Kevin Torres commanded the largest human fleet, positioned to hit the Zephyrian Home Defense Force. Torres was a veteran of the colony wars, and he knew how to hurt an enemy where it counted most. Target their command ships first, Torres ordered. Cut off the head and the body dies. The Zephyrian fleet was the pride of the hegemony, 200 massive ships arranged in a defensive formation around their home world. They had never lost a battle. They had never even been challenged. That was about to change. Torres's ships came out of hyperspace in a perfect attack formation. Before the aliens could react, human missiles were already in the air. The Zephyrian flagship, a mile-long monster that had terrorized dozens of species, took 6 direct hits and broke in half. This is Admiral Torres to all Zephyrian vessels, Torres broadcast on all frequencies. You have 30 seconds to surrender before we finish what you started. The aliens tried to fight back, but their command structure was shattered. Without their flagship coordinating movements, the massive ships got in each other's way. Some tried to retreat. Others tried to attack. Most just died. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Sam Hughes heard the signal he had been waiting for. All resistance cells, this is command. Execute Operation Payback. Show them what humans do to people who hurt our families. Sam and his team emerged from their hidden tunnels like ghosts. The alien occupation force had been expecting broken refugees, not trained guerrilla fighters. The aliens had powerful weapons and advanced armor, but they didn't know the terrain. They didn't know where the humans were hiding. And they definitely didn't know how angry the humans were. Mary Chen's explosives went off first. Every alien supply depot on the planet erupted in flames simultaneously. Food, ammunition, fuel, equipment, everything the occupying force needed to survive was gone in seconds. Phase 2, Sam ordered into his radio. Human snipers opened fire from positions the aliens didn't even know existed. Communication arrays went down. Transport vehicles exploded. Command posts came under attack from multiple directions at once. The alien soldiers tried to fight back, but they were trained for pacification, not war. They expected to face frightened civilians begging for mercy. Instead, they found themselves fighting people who had spent months learning every inch of their own world, preparing every weapon they could make and planning every attack down to the smallest detail. Back in space, Captain Lisa Martinez finally reached Kepler 442b with her reinforcements. The alien fleet in orbit was already half destroyed by kinetic bombardment, but there were still enemy ships threatening the planet. "This is Captain Martinez to all alien vessels," Lisa broadcast. "You have murdered civilians and threatened our families. Surrender now or join your friends in the debris field." The alien commander tried to negotiate. "Human vessel, we are prepared to discuss terms for—" Lisa cut him off. "The time for talking is over." The UES Falcon was just one ship against 6 alien cruisers, but Lisa had advantages the aliens didn't expect. Human ships were faster, their weapons were more accurate, and their crews had been training for this fight their whole lives. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, the alien fleet was space dust and the colonists on Kepler 442b were free. By the end of Day 2, the galaxy was in shock. 16 major hegemony fleets had been destroyed or scattered. 12 human colonies had been liberated. The aliens' careful occupation plans were in ruins. In the hegemony capital, emergency meetings were called. Species that had been allies for centuries started blaming each other for the disaster. Some wanted to retreat and regroup. Others demanded massive retaliation. None of them understood what they were really facing. "How could a primitive species cause such damage?" demanded the Kalari representative. Chancellor Vex Kalar, his own fleet reduced to wreckage, could only stare at the tactical displays. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we misjudged what primitive means." Admiral Stone watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Human losses were minimal. Enemy losses were catastrophic. But she knew this was just the beginning. "Signal all fleets," Stone ordered. "Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. Hunt down every remaining enemy ship. Show them what happens when you threaten human children." The aliens had thought they were fighting a young, weak species that would break easily. Instead, they had awakened something that their ancient, comfortable civilization had forgotten how to handle. They had started a war with humans, and humans were very, very good at war. Days 3 and 4 turned the galaxy upside down. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was not interested in showing mercy to those who had murdered their children. Captain Jennifer Walsh commanded the fast attack group that hunted fleeing hegemony ships across 3 star systems. Her 5 destroyers moved like wolves, appearing from hyperspace, striking hard, and vanishing before the enemy could respond. Contact on long-range sensors, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Nathan Price. Kalari heavy cruiser, running for their home territory. Jennifer studied the display. The alien ship was twice the size of her destroyers, but it was alone and running scared. "Set intercept course. Signal the fleet, we're going hunting." The Kalari ship tried to fight when the human destroyers caught up with it, but the alien crew was demoralized and confused. They had been told humans were weak. They had been told this would be an easy war. Now they were watching their entire fleet structure collapse around them. Jennifer's ships hit the cruiser from 4 directions at once. The alien vessel's weapons were powerful, but they couldn't target all the human ships at the same time. Within minutes, the cruiser was drifting dead in space. "This is Captain Walsh to the Kalari vessel," Jennifer broadcast. "Abandoned ship. You have 2 minutes before we finish you off." Escape pods launched from the alien ship. Jennifer watched them go, then gave the order to destroy the empty cruiser. No alien ship could be allowed to escape and report human tactics to their allies. This scene played out hundreds of times across the galaxy. Human task forces, organized into small, fast units, systematically hunted down every fleeing enemy ship they could find. The aliens' numerical advantage meant nothing when they couldn't coordinate their forces or predict where the humans would strike next. Colonel Ryan. Kelly ran the intelligence operation that was breaking the hegemony apart from the inside. His team of hackers and psychological warfare specialists had infiltrated alien communication networks and were spreading carefully crafted messages designed to cause panic and confusion. Upload the new footage, Kelly ordered his team. Make sure every alien military channel sees it. The footage showed human Marines storming alien positions on occupied worlds. It showed hegemony ships being destroyed by weapons the aliens couldn't understand. Most importantly, it showed historical clips from human wars. Humans fighting humans with a level of violence and determination that shocked alien viewers. The message is simple, Kelly explained to his staff. They're not fighting a primitive species. They're fighting a species that has spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing other humans. What do they think we can do to aliens? The psychological campaign worked better than Kelly had hoped. Across the hegemony, member species began questioning their alliance. Why should they die for Zephyrian ambitions? Why should they risk their fleets for colonies they didn't even want? The Kalari Empire was the first to break. Ambassador Elizabeth Harper received their secret message at 400 Earth time on day 4. The Kalari government wishes to discuss separate peace negotiations, the message read. We never intended conflict with humanity. Our participation in the coalition was a mistake. Elizabeth smiled as she forwarded the message to President Kane. The hegemony was falling apart exactly as planned. Once one species broke ranks, others would follow. By the end of day 4, 3 more species had secretly contacted Earth about separate peace deals. The Grand Alliance that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was disintegrating in less than a week, but humanity's most important target was still out there. Commander Jake Sullivan had spent days tracking down rumors and following scattered intelligence reports. Finally, his persistence paid off. Deep in the Void Nebula, hidden behind radiation storms that would kill most known species, was the hegemony's supreme command center. Are you sure about this? Asked his pilot, Mary Adams, as they approached the nebula's edge. That radiation will cook us in 30 minutes, even with our shielding. Jake studied the sensor readings. The nebula was a nightmare of high-energy particles and electromagnetic storms. No sane captain would take a ship into that mess, which was exactly why it was the perfect place to hide a command center. That's where they're planning their next move, Jake said. That's where their leadership is hiding. Command needs to know about this. The shadow pushed into the nebula's outer edge, its advanced shielding protecting the crew from radiation that would have been instantly lethal to most alien species. Jake's team worked quickly, mapping the facility's position and defensive systems before retreating to safe space. The data they gathered changed everything. Admiral Rachel Stone looked at Jake's intelligence report with growing excitement. The Hegemony command station was huge, heavily defended, and completely confident in its safety. It was also the nerve center of the entire alien war effort. If we can take that station, Stone told her staff, we can end this war in one strike. The problem was getting there. The Void Nebula was a death trap for most ships. The radiation levels would kill alien crews in minutes and cook most electronic systems. Only humans with their paranoid over-engineering and radiation-hardened technology could survive the trip. I'll lead the assault personally, volunteered Admiral Christopher Hayes, commander of humanity's newest dreadnought squadron. My ships have the best shielding and the most experienced crews. Stone nodded. Do it. Take whatever you need. End this. Meanwhile, the resistance movements on occupied worlds had evolved from sabotage to full-scale warfare. On Kepler 442b, Sam Hughes coordinated with similar groups across dozens of worlds, sharing tactics and coordinating attacks. Hit their communication centers at exactly 1200 local time. Sam broadcast to resistance leaders across human space. Every world, every cell, every target goes down simultaneously. Show them they can't hide anywhere in our territory. Teacher-turned-resistance coordinator Helen Roberts led the operation on New Portland, humanity's largest agricultural world. Her team had been planning this attack for weeks, studying alien patrol patterns and security procedures. Remember, Helen told her fighters, These are the same aliens who murdered families on Kepler 442b. These are the same ones who bombed civilian shelters. No mercy, no prisoners. Helen's team struck the alien command post with surgical precision. They moved like ghosts through the settlement, taking out guards and security systems without raising alarms. By the time the aliens realized they were under attack, it was too late. The resistance attack succeeded beyond all expectations. Within hours, alien occupation forces across dozens of worlds found themselves cut off from their commands, isolated in hostile territory, facing enemies who knew every hiding place and escape route. On the diplomatic front, the hegemony's collapse accelerated. The Draconi Republic, seeing the writing on the wall, officially withdrew from the coalition and declared neutrality. Two smaller species followed within hours. Chancellor Vex Kalar watched his alliance crumble from his command station deep in the Void Nebula. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Fleets destroyed, worlds in rebellion, allies abandoning the cause. Everything he had built over decades was falling apart in days. "How many ships do we have left?" Vex Kalar asked his staff. "Approximately 400 vessels scattered across 200 systems," his aide reported. "Most are requesting permission to retreat to home territories." Vex Kalar's forearms slammed against the command table. "Retreat? We are the hegemony. We have ruled this galaxy for 3 centuries. Sir," his intelligence chief said quietly, "the humans are not like the species we've conquered before. They don't fight for territory or resources. They're fighting for revenge, and they're very good at it." Day 4 ended with humanity in control of 38 star systems and the hegemony reduced to scattered remnants. But Admiral Stone knew the war wasn't over yet. As long as the alien leadership survived, they would eventually regroup and try again. "Signal Admiral Hayes," Stone ordered. "Execute Operation Thunderstrike. Take that command station. End this war." The final battle was about to begin. Day 5 began with Admiral Christopher Hayes leading 12 human dreadnoughts into the most dangerous region of space in the galaxy. The Void Nebula stretched before them like a wall of death, crackling with radiation that would kill most species in minutes. "All ships, this is Hayes," the Admiral broadcast to his fleet. "Remember, we volunteered for this. Those aliens chose to hide behind natural barriers because they thought no one would be crazy enough to follow them. Time to prove them wrong." The human ships pushed into the nebula's swirling storms. Their hulls glowed from radiation exposure. Warning alarms screamed on every bridge. But the ships kept moving forward, protected by engineering that assumed the worst possible conditions and planned for even worse. President Andrew Kane sat in the command ship's observation deck, watching the deadly light show outside. He had insisted on coming personally, despite the protests of his security team. Some fights, Kane believed, required the presence of the person who gave the orders. "Radiation at 60% of lethal dose," reported the ship's medical officer. "Estimated safe exposure time 27 minutes. Hayes nodded grimly. They would have to hit the alien station fast and hard. No time for careful tactics or prolonged battles. This would be a knife fight in a burning building. Deep inside the nebula, Chancellor Vex Kalar watched his sensors with growing disbelief. "Are you certain these readings are correct?" he demanded. "Yes, sir," his tactical officer replied. 12 large ships approaching through the radiation storm. They matched the profile of human dreadnoughts. Vex Kalar stared at the display. It was impossible. No species could survive the nebula's radiation for more than a few minutes. The humans should be dead already. "Perhaps," suggested his aide, "we underestimated human technology." "No," Vex Kalar snarled. "We underestimated human stupidity. Only insane beings would fly into a death trap like this." The alien command station was a marvel of engineering, a massive structure built into an asteroid and protected by powerful shields and hundreds of defensive weapons. It had been designed to be absolutely impregnable, hidden in a place where no enemy could reach it. The designers had never planned for enemies who didn't care about impossible odds. Hayes's fleet emerged from the radiation storm like vengeful ghosts. The human ships were scarred and glowing, their hulls damaged by the deadly journey, but they were still fighting ships with angry crews. "All batteries, open fire," Hayes ordered. "Show them what humans do to cowards who hide behind natural disasters." The battle was savage and short. The alien station's defenses were powerful, but they were designed to fight normal fleets under normal conditions. The human ships attacked with the desperate fury of people who knew they only had minutes before the radiation killed them. President Kane watched human Marines storm the station's docking bays. These were volunteers, men and women who had asked for the chance to personally arrest the beings responsible for murdering human families. They fought through alien defenders with a cold professionalism that spoke of months of training and years of anger. The final confrontation took place in the station's command center. Chancellor Vex Kalar stood surrounded by his remaining staff, watching human soldiers secure the room. He was still trying to understand how this had happened. President Kane entered the chamber wearing a radiation suit, flanked by 2 Marines. He looked older than his years, tired from the weight of war, but his eyes were sharp and determined. Chancellor Vex Kalar, Kane said quietly, "I believe we need to discuss terms." The alien leader's forearms spread wide in a gesture of contempt. "Terms? You have destroyed my fleets, scattered my allies, and invaded my command center. What terms could there possibly be?" Kane stepped closer. "The terms under which your species gets to continue existing." For the first time in the conversation, Vex Kalar looked genuinely afraid. "You cannot mean to commit genocide. You humans claim to be civilized." "We are civilized," Kane replied. "That's why we're offering you a choice. The same choice you gave us 5 days ago. Surrender unconditionally and accept our terms for peace, or face the consequences of continued resistance." Vex Kalar's voice shook with rage. "This is impossible. How could a primitive species defeat the greatest alliance in galactic history? How could you have planned such a campaign in mere days?" Kane smiled coldly. "We didn't plan this in days, Chancellor. We've been preparing for this war since the first time you threatened us 3 years ago. We just waited for you to give us proper justification." The alien's eyes widened with understanding. You wanted this war." "No," Kane said firmly. "We wanted to be left alone. We wanted to raise our families and build our colonies in peace. But when that became impossible, we made sure we would be ready." Kane activated a holographic projector showing images from across the galaxy. Human fleets hunting down alien stragglers, resistance movements liberating occupied worlds, former hegemony allies surrendering or switching sides. Your war is over, Chancellor. The only question now is whether you want your species to survive it. Day 6 dawned with the complete collapse of organized hegemony resistance. The remaining alien fleets, scattered and demoralized, transmitted surrender messages across the galaxy. Some tried to flee to neutral space. Others simply shut down their engines and waited for human ships to find them. But President Kane's terms were not what anyone expected. In the rebuilt conference chamber on the former hegemony capital world, representatives from over 200 species gathered to hear humanity's demands. Many expected the humans to claim territory, demand tribute, or establish their own empire. Instead, Ambassador Daniel Brooks, the same diplomat who had received the original ultimatum, stood before the assembly with a document that shocked the galaxy. "The Universal Species Accord," Brooks announced, "guarantees the rights of all sapient beings to self-determination, territorial integrity, and protection from aggression. No species may be enslaved, exploited, or exterminated by another. No alliance may impose its will on unwilling members." The room erupted in surprised voices. Species that had been oppressed under hegemony rule could hardly believe what they were hearing. "But who will enforce these laws?" asked the representative from the Tau Collective, a species that had been enslaved for 2 centuries. Brooks smiled. "The United Earth Fleet will serve as the galaxy's peacekeeping force. We will respond to aggression wherever it occurs, against whoever commits it regardless of their size or power." Chancellor Vex Kalar, now a prisoner facing war crimes trials, sat in the back of the chamber. He watched in disbelief as the species that had defeated him handed power back to those they had conquered. "I don't understand," Vex Kalar said to his guard, a young human marine named Alex Thompson. "Your people could rule the galaxy now. Why are you giving it away?" Alex looked at the broken alien leader with something that might have been pity. "Because we never wanted to rule anyone, sir. We just wanted to stop you from ruling us." The accord was signed by every species present. For the first time in galactic history, there was a law that applied equally to everyone, and a force capable of enforcing it. 1 year later, former Chancellor Vex Kalar worked in a garden on the human agricultural world of New Haven. It was part of the Reconstruction program, former hegemony leaders working alongside the people they had oppressed, learning what it meant to build rather than conquer. He tended vegetables beside Mary Phillips, a farmer whose daughter had died in the bombing of Kepler 442b. At first, they had worked in silence, but gradually they had begun to talk about loss, about forgiveness, about the difference between justice and revenge. "Do you ever regret it?" Vex Kalar asked one day as they harvested tomatoes. "Your people could have taken everything. Instead, you chose to rebuild." Mary looked at him with tired eyes. "My daughter died because someone decided they had the right to take what wasn't theirs. If we had done the same thing to you, what would that make us?" Vex Kalar had no answer. The 6-Day War, as historians would call it, ended not with humanity's dominion over the galaxy, but with humanity's gift to it. The Universal Species Accord became the foundation of a new galactic civilization, one based on cooperation rather than conquest. And in the quiet corridors of the United Earth government, a simple plaque was installed with a message that every human diplomat would see before they went to negotiate with other species. Patience has limits, but so does revenge. Choose wisely which one you test. The galaxy had learned what happened when humanity's patience finally snapped. More importantly, it had learned what happened when humanity chose to heal rather than hurt, to build rather than break, and to turn the tools of war into the foundations of peace. The hegemony was gone. In its place stood something the galaxy had never seen before, a civilization that grew stronger not by conquering others, but by protecting them. And at the center of it all were the humans, the young species that had refused to accept their assigned place in the cosmic order and had instead rewritten the rules entirely.